In this lecture, we're going to bind an external function in our story. During the story, the NPC asks the player if they have their candy. If the player selects yes, we should check the player's inventory for the item. At the moment, we're automatically assuming they have an item. The question is, how do we check the player's inventory from the story? Ink is a very powerful tool. We're allowed to create variables and run functions from our story. Writing stories is not the only thing we can do. Complex logic can be written from within a story. This is why developers love to use ink in their projects. Let's try finding out how that's done. In the project, navigate to the dialog directory. Open the NPC Jack story. Technically, we can define a function from within a story. However, stories have limited access to game objects from external sources. Rather than defining a function, let's define a function from our scripts. Stories can call functions from external sources. At the top of the file, add the following: external verify quest. As I said before, stories can have functions. We must explicitly identify which functions are defined outside the story by using the external keyword. The name of the function must be written after this keyword. Next, let's update the yes option from the story. Before diverting to a not, add the following: tilde verify quest. The tilde character allows writers to execute a function. In this example, we're executing verify request function. Our story is ready. The next step is to define the function from our script. Open the dialog state. This state is responsible for handling the behavior of the dialog. I think it's the best place for defining the function. At the bottom of the class, define a method called verifyQuest. The method's name does not need to match the name of the function from the story. We could have called this method pizza. It can still be registered with our story. I like to use the same name to be consistent. Inside this method, let's log a message with the debug.log method. Let's output the following message: verifying quest. Next, we must bind this method with the story. Scroll to the setStory method. In this method, we're setting the current story. After setting the story, we should bind the method. Call the following method: currentStory.bind external function. The bind external function method allows us to bind a function from the story with a method from our class. It has two parameters. The first parameter is the name of the function from the story. Let's pass in verifyQuest. Next, we must pass in the name of the method to call when the function is called from the story. It's the same name. Great, our method should be called from the story. Head over to Unity. Before we play our game, we should verify that the story was compiled. As a reminder, Ink files are not optimized for games. They must be compiled into JSON files. Behind the scenes, Unity should have compiled the file for you. If we click on the Ink file, the inspector should tell us the last time the file was compiled. The timestamp should be close to the time when the file has been edited. Otherwise, Unity may provide an option to manually compile the file. Be sure to verify that everything has been compiled. Otherwise, recompile the file. After everything is in order, let's play the game. Let's talk with the NPC. In the dialog, I'm going to select yes. After doing so, the console outputs the message from our method. We've successfully called a method external from a story. It'll only get called if the player selects yes. That's great. In the next lecture, let's begin checking the player's inventory for a quest item.